Thank you for tuning in to Comic Comic. I'm Brian Koppen with Comic Leena Kurishingal. Leena Kurishingal, how the hell are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you so much for coming on. We follow her everywhere. Leena Kurishingal on Instagram. And you also have LeenaKurishingal.com, where she has a strong acting, comedy writing, and voiceover resume. But also L. Kirsch. I don't know how the hell you got that handle, but it's because you're hilarious. L. Kirsch on Twitter.
That is true. It's partly a old high school nickname.
Yes. Do they call you L. Kirsch? L. Kirsch, or do they just call you Kirsch?
Just Kirsch, which is, shorter than Kershingle.
The Kirsch. I think I had a male stand-up comedian from New York City that we called Kirsch, and so I think we'll have to do a stand-up off at some point. We'll meet in the middle somewhere like the Midwest, like that's where you're from. But real quick, before we talk about all topics Midwestern, because I'm from Illinois too, are you able to talk about what you're excited about? What's coming out pretty soon? What's coming out in the next couple of weeks that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm part of a sketch writing group, Deadline Junkies. I'll have a sketch come out this Friday. And after that, it's just some different acting credit stuff. It's slow rolling. Like you shoot it months and months before, and you just kind of wait, and you're like, especially, these times. So I have a small part in a miniseries, Gaslit, that'll be on Stars about the whole Watergate thing.
It's
As
about
well as,
Watergate.
yeah, it's a recap, but from the female perspective of all the different players in that world.
Wow.
Um,
So who were the
yeah.
female? Who are the females prominent in Watergate? You're gonna have to enlighten me.
Oh boy, I can tell you the actresses' names.
Or as far as your parts, what kind of part did you play, that was relevant to Watergate?
Oh, I was just, one of those side folk, one of the many reporters, but it was
Okay.
it was
Well,
very
that's cool.
cool
I
to
mean, yeah,
be.
I suppose it was covered by females like crazy, but I just remember a lot, it was what Nixon administration, and he was staffed with mainly dudes, mainly just fucking criminal white dudes, right? And so like, as far as women in that scene, I mean, I suppose they could have, yeah, I don't, it's cool that there's reporters there, but who else? Were there investigators or whoever who were
Oh,
women?
it was a lot of, I guess, the people that kind of got left in the wayside, like the women
Okay.
attached to these men who, wives and like their story in it, and they actually played kind of prominent parts of like either pushing information or trying to, support their man or whatever as he's
Oh,
falling
that's
apart.
cool. That's cool. You're
Yeah.
like, Deep Throat. You're like, it's his wife who's like, yeah, go forward, you asshole. And so we forget about her because she didn't make history, but really she was the one who like exposed the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's still new twists and old stuff. So
You're Deadline Junkies, and so that's Kirsten Porter, right? Are you in
yeah,
DJs? What is that? Sketches with a D and a J in the middle? I can't pronounce
sketches. Yeah,
sketches.
I think I've
And so
stopped pronouncing the word sketches properly because of that. But yeah, sketches.
sketches. And then, I mean, have you found that like Kirsten Porter, it kind of keeps you more productive having those deadlines?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, like just doing the writing is one thing. You're like, okay, you have a collection of scripts of little shorts and things on your laptop, but you don't really have anything necessarily to show someone. So this is like we write it, we produce it. It's all online stuff. So and particularly with the state of the world, we're kind of producing the things ourselves, and so casting and cutting and all sorts of things that not all of them are my strong suit, but when it's all over, I'm like, yay, here's this thing I made.
I have some product because yeah, otherwise if you're waiting for stuff that other people have filmed and it takes them forever, like you said, it takes forever to come out. And it's not like everybody in the world is going to see every single thing you do. So it's like it's almost, in the meantime, we're waiting for the Kirsch. We're waiting for content from the Kirsch. And if Kirsch isn't putting out stuff via Deadline Junkies or sketches or whatever, like we're, I think Ronnie Pascal, like he moved out to LA and I think he's doing a lot of successful acting. He's like, oh, I just shot something I'm real proud of that's coming out. And he was on the Kevin Hart Lift comedian show and stuff like that where you make your guests laugh. But in the meantime, we're just hungry for more Ronnie. We're just like, Ronnie, you seem real busy. And I know this thing is coming on a big channel sometime soon, but why don't you just, release 4,000 hilarious things that you're doing yourself in the meantime, right?
I mean, it does add up when you finally decide to post. If you're like me, where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I have been productive. Little
Yeah.
pat on the back. All right.
Yeah. And so Deadline Junkies kind of allows you to do that. And so are you kind of like, so in addition to having all these scripts kind of just stacking up on your Google Drive or whatever, you're also kind of performing some of them?
Well, yeah. I mean, I am also trying to actively do the actor writer thing and be like, all right, you made all this effort. Why don't you put yourself in there? Have a little screen tab yourself.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. And on the side, like this is big submission season for writers, and I have a couple of TV pilots that are sort of like, all right, try to brush them up, try to get them out. This is like, Olympics time.
Yeah. So like
Um,
I don't want to, burn material. Of course, we're going to see this stuff all on ABC and NBC sometime soon. But like, what are the comedies, what are the comedy pilots that you've written and didn't make it, but you really think has a future in some sort of some sort of media. You're like, dude, that was that one idea that was really sticking in my brain and I'd love to do it somehow, but it just didn't get greenlit. Is there anything you can talk about without burning your current pilots?
well, I mean, I can say like generally the subject matter tends to be well, featuring a lead Indian American person. Don't know where that comes from,
Yeah,
but
why? Why? How come?
random. So
Yeah, I
random.
know this is an audio only podcast. I have no idea what you look like.
That's a fair point. The weird name doesn't give it away, but
Well, I look on LenaKurishingal.com and I see what you look like. So okay, I get it.
yes, yes. I guess a lot of it, I've been an actor for a long time, and I think I started particularly at a time when there wasn't a lot of representation of my particular demographic, and it didn't, make the journey that easy. And I think it kind of dawned on me when I started writing a couple years back. I got a diversity scholarship with Upright Citizens Brigade, and that just kind of opened up this world. Technically, I have a film degree, but I hadn't written in a long time. But you start doing little sketches, you start doing little things, and then there's somebody who's like, taking or teaching a sitcom class. I'm like, all right, and I think I realized I'm writing things basically that I might have been auditioning for like 10 years ago. That would have been ideal.
Oh,
Kind of, you know, quirky Indian American girl or a person who's like trying to like, find success, but countered with everything she's dealing with. Just yeah.
yeah. There's a
I hate
couple.
to be
There's a
like, this
couple
is
Indian American females who come to mind who are in comedy or at least performance. There was a Sonia Gavankar who went to my high school, and she ended up doing a lot of cool stuff in Hollywood, so that was cool. And I think she had rich parents. I think like she actually had
that
a hell
helps.
like her dad was a doctor, so we had a helipad where Charlton Heston could fly in, and this was in Joliet, Illinois. We're just like, well, she didn't do it on her own merits, but I think she probably did. But also, so like Mindy Kaling was another one. She Indian American, and if you had to kind of, contrast her style with that of your own, and for a stupid white man like me, I'm just like, I've only seen Mindy Kaling and Sonia Gavankar. Like, if you had to kind of contrast, your pilots coming out that would have been, you were writing for yourself 20 years ago, how would that character contrast with the stuff we've seen from Mindy Kaling? I think, is that her name? You
Yes,
might not
yes.
know. I don't want to presume that you know Mindy Kaling.
Oh, we all worship, she is definitely
Yeah, I
she's
love
paved
Ryan
the
Howard.
way.
So yeah, I mean, her and Ryan Howard are always the best couple. Or was it BJ
Uh,
Novak or whatever his name is? Yeah.
DJ Novak, yeah. Um, well, I think there's a bit of like a dramedy aspect too, I think, because maybe because it's taken me a little longer perhaps to find that success or, whatnot, the drive that keeps pushing you. I think there's, a little bit more of the internal like questions that come up, and so I think it's both like internal exploration as well as like quirky, neurotic person, which I think Mindy Kaling stuff definitely has her own like, I think particular twist with like romantic, pursuit and all this stuff. But her characters seem a little bit more grounded, like doctor, like some aspect of their lives are figured out. I think I don't know what it says about me, but I
That's
think my
that's
character.
funny. Yeah, Mindy Kaling, or at least her character on The Office was not grounded at all. I suppose she was a customer service representative of some repute. But yeah, I suppose she was a doctor in another one, and
Or
that was another one of our
yeah,
topics, the whole mind body stuff. And because you mentioned, the dramedy and the internal stuff, kind of what about your inner monologue that has kind of, is there any, self doubt that crept in at any point, before you started just churning out quality content via, Deadline Junkies and sketches and stuff like that. Like, was there any, self doubt when it came to, well, it's taking me longer than it took Mindy Kaling?
well, I mean, I think any artist can definitely say, it's like every 3 months you're reevaluating, like, is my mother right? Like, how did I get here? Uh,
Every 3 months, get the call from your mom. Maybe she's right. 3 months ago, she called me. She's going to call me in 2 more days. Shit, maybe she's right.
I better figure out something fast. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're on Competent Comic. You're all good. You're on the guild path now.
I'll let her know.
In all seriousness, mother, there's this guy called Brian
Yeah.
Koppen. He does this. I was on Koppen with comic, which means I'm totally comic, and you should see me as such. And she's like, dude, I have no idea who the fuck that is, but you do you, girl.
It is sometimes small little things. Like I had a small part in this upcoming film. It's called The Year Between, and there's like some notable names in there, like Steve Buscemi, and
Oh,
and I remember showing a picture, and she was just like, "I recognize that face." And I was like,
good.
"Yes,
Yes.
finally,
Yeah, I
some
love that because
validation."
there must be a moment of trepidation, after you cast and before you show it to your mom, you're like, dude, I really hope she knows who this guy is. Let me bring the picture. I'm really dreading the next words coming out of her mouth, which is I have no idea who that is, but how is that guy a famous actor?
I think I'm used to the usual, like, I'm unimpressed, but she tries, she does.
That's so funny. You're like,
Um,
well, I could have just been a doctor first to impress her, but then it's just like, what's the next thing? It's like now you have to have 10 kids, like, but also then you have all this debt and you can't really pursue comedy if you have just, well, unlike, if you care about your credit score and you care about buying a house one day, debt is kind of important. And if you had been a doctor to impress your mother first, like, it would be a crushing debt load right now and you wouldn't be able to do comedy.
it's a catch 22, like A or B.
So the inner monologue, so I mean, what did my mom think about this or whatever? Like, yeah, what kind of, how would that, I said self-doubt, that was just one example, but if there's anything, in
Yeah.
the mind body stuff we were talking about pre-pod, kind of what can you speak about the rich internal life of Leena Kurishingal? Say it for me. I had it.
Kershingle.
Shingle, bam, the Kirsch. It helps
That's
people
it.
say it, the Kirsch. Lena Kurshingal, the rich inner life that kind of, she can talk about on stage.
Um, well, it's funny. I do enjoy, I think, like the mind body stuff and just kind of self-care things. I think I do sometimes skip that in my pursuit of like, this never-ending, career. So I mean, even over like the pandemic period, I had some health stuff kind of pop up, and then also you're over like your laptop like crouched over like 24/7.
Yeah.
And finally I ended up going to like a holistic like Chinese medicine person. And he convinced me, and I'm glad, to do some like Tai Chi, take a course with him, and Qigong. And like I've done yoga in the past, but like this was, at first it was like, oh, this is kind of like dance, like you follow the movements. And then
Yeah.
it gets far more complex, and you're like, oh, how do I move again?
Because I experienced
But
that
I
on the way
mean,
over here. It's just like, why are people getting so tired of things? Like, I even see that during sex where people are getting all tired. And you're like, why are they getting tired for? You're just laying down. And I'm just like, oh, because you're holding your body in weird ways. And I was that way on the way here. I was trudging through snow. I was like, why am I so fucking tired right now? It's like, oh, because I have to lift my feet farther to get through the snowbank, and I have to push off more. And I guess what I'm saying is like Tai Chi as opposed to dance would seem to be a little bit more difficult because isn't it using your body's weight to kind of, add some muscle too?
I mean, there's definitely, yeah,
Well, that's
like
yoga too, right?
isolated
The yoga's doing that too.
muscles. That too, that's true. Although yoga, you do get to kind of be planted, like at least most of your feet and arms are on the ground or upward. But it was definitely interesting, and like all the energy talk, and I mean, a lot of it. I think eventually, like Western science will do some study or whatever and pick up on stuff like meditation and all that. But like, I was just, it's funny, like, your body during a kind of chaotic time and stuff, like all sorts of things manifest, like your stomach is all kind of like all mixed up and whatnot. And you would just talk about things that were, kind of like out there for most people, but just be like, oh, like the energy, like in the pit of your stomach, if you focus on that and all these things. And, um, you just be like, oh, hey, your kidney energy is kind of low. And I'm just like, huh, how do you know this about me?
Yeah, and how do I then
Um,
gain that and then have it destroyed the minute I go to like an open mic or something? Because like you can have as great personal energy as you want. You might attract the right people to you, So it means, deadline junkies, you're getting productive people and you're drawing them to you. But it's like I imagine, in comedy, especially if you don't get a laugh, it could be kind of crushing and really fuck up with mess with that positive energy you've been developing.
yeah, I mean, now I just feel like we're doing some other kind of podcast, but I also like tapping. It's called EFT. it's like emotional freedom technique where you just kind of like almost like you tap on the acupuncture points like on different
Oh,
meridians of your body. So it's sort of like a DIY kind of version of it.
okay. So you
But
do that
it's like
on your own body, like you tap on things,
yeah, like you can totally Google videos on just
like
like these different
hammers and
points.
stuff. Like what do you
Oh,
tap
I'm
with?
sorry.
What do you tap on your body part with, like your knee or something like?
Oh, just like your your fingertips.
Okay.
Um,
I think I was thinking acupuncture or something like that. I don't know what they use to kind of drive the pins in, but that's cool. And so you're, but then I mean, are you, do you see any
it like
humor in it such that you can bring it on stage? I know you're bringing the positive energy on stage.
well, it definitely releases all the bad juju from prior shows and gigs and things. You're like, all right, reset.
That was
Cry for a
bad.
moment if you have to. Reset.
That was bad, Gigi, man. And I mean, is there any thread like, yeah, there's some people with there's some, I think I had a girl, ex chica who was, I don't know, Rike, or that's like energy, whatever. And she was like, yeah, man, you got some bad juju. And I'm like, ah, wow. But like, was there any thread of that back at Columbia College, where you were like, is there a through line when it comes to kind of, embracing some real novel but potentially helpful, holistic medicine things that coming up in Illinois that you embraced when you were younger?
I wish I had found a lot of those things a lot earlier. Life
Yeah.
would be a lot easier.
All the bad juju,
I
because
think,
you get rejected, and people get rejected in, of course you don't, but people get rejected in auditions all the time, right?
yeah, I mean, that is definitely part of the game. I mean, I counted, I think, just, self-tape auditions one of the prior years. And I was like, I think, well, at the beginning of the pandemic, I'd say, like, I still had like 40 auditions I had submitted out there into the world. And most of the time you don't hear back. And you're just like, that's a lot of job interviews to be like, all right, let me pick up and go at it again.
So once you added it up, do you feel good? You're like, look at me. I mean, because they're self-taped, do you feel a little bit less personal about the rejection?
Uh, well, if you ever had to do a self-tape, I think any actor out there would be like, I would take those 10 minutes of rejection any day than those 5 hours of trying to tape yourself.
Uh,
And it's like it is a blessing in a lot of ways. It's on your own time now. You can have more flexibility, but I mean, it's
somewhere
like
at the
you're
time.
balancing things on books and hoping the light doesn't fall on your head. And like,
I think I saw that.
yeah,
I'm at a WeWork and they have little rooms, and I think the other day I saw somebody self-filming with his little helper there, and so hopefully you've had some little helpers along the way. But I mean, you're just on to huge things. And when can we expect the big time thing coming out? Like you have a sketch coming out for Deadline Junkies this week,
yes,
so it'd be
yes,
Friday, so it'd be February 4th.
yes, yes, sir.
Okay,
That's it.
and is Kirsten Porter in
uh,
it, or just one of the other wonderful colleagues from Deadline Junkies?
just some of my other wonderful colleagues, and
Okay.
if I can gear myself up myself, or I'm gonna find another actor quickly to do this, so I can edit it all together and put it out into the
Yes.
world.
Yes, and I mean, do you like to? I mean, because you can also self-film just solo stuff, meaning, just a Leena Kurishingal special where it's just you. But I mean, in choosing to kind of yoke yourself to fellow comedians who might have 4,000 other things going on, do you notice it's frustrating when you try to, oh shit, I need another actor. This is supposed to come out on Friday. Does it ever have you being like, man, why don't I just fucking do this myself?
I think I have earlier on, and I broke my boyfriend into somehow playing a part, and
Yeah, there you go.
as long as it gets done,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
But
That's
like
I mean, like,
I was
so
gonna say,
like back in the day with Columbia College and stuff, were you noticing like you really were just relying on other people to, tell you yes or no all the time? I mean, was there any, did you do short films back in college that you were proud of? Or do you look back now and cringe?
well, thankfully, a lot of that's on actual film, buried in a duffel bag somewhere, so no one has to see it.
No. No, it's buried. They buried it?
Oh, it's okay, just hiding under dust. But
Oh no, no, nobody puts baby in a film can. Nobody puts lean in a film can, let me tell you. Well, I mean,
whatever that inner monologue is, I don't think I want to know it now.
ah, oh, I love that. Well, I mean, she's living her life out loud. We're going to see everything she does because it's going to be just very public, successes and no failure because she lives her life on film. But we're going to just watch the huge projects he's got coming out, especially one with Steve Buscemi. And of course, he's going to be on the next episode of Coppin with Comics. So watch out for that. Watch out for that, people, and
Oh
Lena's
yeah,
mom.
yeah.
But we follow her everywhere. We're going to be retweeting all her funny stuff at L Kirsch because she used to be the Kirsch. But LenaKurishingal.com and also Lena Kurishingal on Instagram. And so we're going to follow all her funny stuff there. So Lena Kurishingal, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's great fun.